Motivation peaks when challenges are just beyond your current abilities. My favorite video game in the world is Tetris. It's a tight race between Pokemon and Tetris, but Tetris wins by a hair. Tetris is the best because it's designed to maximize the challenge to meet your current level of skill. Inevitably, the game will get so hard that you lose every single time. But as you play, it usually puts you in a flow state because it is so hard that it rises to meet the level of player that you are. It is the perfect level of challenge to keep you in a flow state. On average, the human brain contains just over a liter of juice. And for this show, I'm going to use every last drop. Welcome to Brain Juice with Noah Chrysler. That's me.
I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it. I just want to comprehend that I have to make amends with the monster inside of me. But I keep forgetting things I need to know. Where I'm from becomes the great unknown. And I can't seem to get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I decided to break this episode into 2 parts, and this is part 2. Wow, welcome. What a part 2 you're listening to. Welcome for part 2. If you made it through part 1, I think you deserve a gold star. So everybody take out your sticker sheet and break off a gold star and stick it right on your cheek. I was gonna say right on your forehead, and then I was gonna never mind. Put it right on your cheek and wear it proudly. You just get yourself a gold star. And I hope it's satisfying. I hope it's obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying to put that star on your face. Cool. Guys, if you don't know what we're doing, we are going through the book Atomic Habits chapter by chapter. I have written up a little summary here of each chapter of the book with key insights. It's a book that's important to me. I have ADHD and executive dysfunction, and this book has helped me work on my life in a way where it's like, hey, this is okay. It's okay to have this. This is challenging. This is some of the hardest stuff ever. And here are a bunch of practical tips to help you, design habits that make your life better. So we are going to pick it up. We stopped halfway through at chapter 10, fixing the cause of your bad habits. And we're going to move right along to chapter 11. So here we go. Strap in, strap on. Cool. Chapter 11, walk slowly but never backward. Key points: consistency beats intensity. Focus on frequency of repetition over time spent. Action trumps planning. Don't confuse motion with action. Motion, he defines as preparation. Action, he defines as execution. Quote, the amount of time you've been performing a habit matters less than the number of times you've performed it, right? So basically the idea here is like what you're trying to do here is you're not trying to chisel all of Michelangelo's David out of a piece of marble the first thing that you do, right? Instead, what you're trying to do is you're trying to develop a habit of I'm going to be a person that chisels David out of marble. Right? I'm a person that is going to wake up every day and for a few hours chisel at the stone block, right? You're not going to chisel David out in the first 8 hours and then that's that, right? Consistency beats intensity. Focus on frequency of repetition over time spent. Right. This was one that I struggled with. Right. So basically, like I read this book and I was trying to design like a daily work routine for myself. And I realized that I was going from doing maybe like, I don't know, just a few hours of work each day to trying to go do like a full 8-hour workday isolated by myself. And it's like, okay, that's crazy. Right. That's crazy and unsustainable and really difficult. And if I try and I realized that I wasn't saying it out loud that my routine was crazy and unsustainable, right? Because I didn't realize it was crazy and unsustainable. right? And so I was trying to do 8 hours of isolated work a day when I have attention deficit disorder, and previously I was doing maybe 3 hours of isolated work a day. So doubling that or more than doubling that to 8 was insane, right? And up on top of that, I was also trying to like wake up early, go to bed early, and go to the gym, right? Which is all, it's a bunch of stuff at once, right? So his point is that don't try to just win the first time you play, right? Consistency beats intensity. Try to do it multiple times. Actions trump planning. Don't confuse motion with action. So this one to me, so one thing that today actually, I started this productivity journal where I was making 2 entries a day into the productivity journal. I was doing 1 entry at the beginning of the day, and then I was making 1 entry at the end of the day. The beginning of the day entry was about, what am I going to do today? What needs to be done? How can I choose and select tasks that are high importance, and then and going to move the ball forward. And then the entry at the end of the day was a reflection on this is what I got done today. Here's optimizations and stuff that I can make tomorrow. That sounds good in theory, but that is motion. That is preparation. That's this superfluous stuff that doesn't actually move the ball forward, right? Instead, it's fucking cut the shit, sit down and do the stuff, do the thing that's you need to be done. Recording this fucking podcast, right? Action trumps planning. Don't confuse motion with action. So instead of sitting down and writing a 4-paragraph journal entry and then a list of bulleted tasks that I need to accomplish for the day, instead of doing all of that, it's sit down, and if you need to write down some tasks that you need to get done that day, go for it. Or if you need to do a journal entry once a week like that, so that you can determine what your goals are for the week, sure. But just sit down and get to work, right? You don't need to do all that stuff. Another thing that I realized after I read this book was that my whole morning routine was huge, right? It was huge, and it was a lot of motion over action, right? It was a lot of preparation instead of execution, right? I would wake up, I would make breakfast, I would make this huge breakfast, and then I would say, oh, well, it's high in protein and I need it, so I'm not hungry throughout the day. Then I would make coffee. Then I would get ready, and I would fully get ready, and I would take a shower, and then I would get dressed, right? Because I'm oh, well, I need to pretend to look professional as I work from home so that I feel more professional as I work, and it put me in a work mindset. That's all bullshit, right? That's all bullshit. That's all preparation, right? Instead, you could take all that time and you could say, I'm going to eat when I'm hungry. I do think the coffee is important. So I'm going to strip everything else away. I'm just going to make the coffee, and then I'm going to get back behind this desk, and I'm just going to do the stuff, right? Yeah. Don't confuse motion with action. I'm going to sit down, record something. I'm going to sit down and edit something. I'm going to go and actually do the thing. And I'm not going to journal about doing the thing. I'm going to do the thing. I'm not going to prepare to do the thing. I'm going to do the thing. There's that one clip from that one podcast from that one guy where he goes, journaling about doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Procrastinating on doing the thing isn't doing the thing. I forgot what the clip says. It's a poem I think he's reading. Anyway, cool. Chapter 12, the law of least effort. I think I already talked about this a little bit in the last episode summary, a little bit, but I like it, so we're going to talk about it again, baby. The law of least effort says that there are key points from this chapter. Key points: reduce friction for good habits, increase friction for bad ones. Simplify actions to make good behaviors easier. Optimize your environment to favor desirable behaviors. And then the quote from this chapter is something that I think really summarizes this chapter well, is human behavior follows the law of least effort. The law of least effort says that you are going to take the path of least resistance, right? You are much more likely to take the path of least resistance. Again, I use this metaphor of the rat in the maze, but also the person who makes the maze, right? You are both the rat in the maze, but you're also the person that designs the maze. So if you design your maze so that the shortest path is a path that leads you on a successful path, then you are going to increase your chances of success, right? If you make it easier to do the right thing than it is to do the wrong thing, then the chances that you're going to do the right thing are much, much higher. Human behavior follows the law of least effort. The law of least effort says that you're going to take the path of least resistance, and you're going to naturally do what requires the most energy. He says the reason people do this is because, our brains are wired to not expend energy that we don't need to. And instead, we're going to always take the path of least resistance because it's a survival mechanism, right? Like basically humans that exerted a lot of energy for no reason or bad reasons, they died, and ones who didn't survived. And so natural selection has basically made you this efficiency machine that wants to take the path of least effort. So you can kind of game that system by organizing your environment, organizing your maze in a way where the shortest path, the one of least resistance, is a good one that spirals you upward. If you make that perfect day, the day where you wake up and by the time you go to sleep after that day, you're wealthier, you're healthier, and you have better relationships with your family and friends, right? If you make that your day and you can make that the path of least resistance, chances are that's going to happen. Cool. Chapter 13, how to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Key points, start small. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Focus on starting, not perfecting. Build momentum before optimizing. Okay, so this one is interesting. This is an interesting chapter, and the bullets don't do it justice. So he talks in this chapter about boiling down your habits to just the cues, to just the like trying to find the smallest thing that kind of makes it automatic for you, right? So he says that, when he comes home after work, he has two things. I think he says some boomer show that he watches with his wife. I think it's like NCIS or some shit. Or like Law and Order. I think it's Law and Order. I think it's like we get Indian food and watch Law and Order, or I go to the gym, right? So what determines how my night goes? There's probably 10 minutes or less, or he says, get it down to 2 minutes, right? He says there's a 2-minute window that determines if I'm going to get home after work and watch Law and Order with my wife and eat Indian food, or I go to the gym and I bust ass at the gym for a little bit, right? And he says, usually if I get my gym shoes on, if I put on my sneakies, on my old sneakers, then my brain knows, oh, it's time to work out, baby. I got to go to the gym, right? And so he says, cool, try to do that to all of your habits, right? Like you want to, I don't know, what's a habit that somebody would want to do? You want to practice guitar for an hour a day. That's kind of something I want to do. Because guitar is tough. Guitar is not easy to learn. I mean, it's not the hardest. Anyway, if you want to practice guitar for an hour a day, right? You're going to, by utilizing the 2-minute rule, you're going to say at the beginning, let's say it's the first week. Let's say it's just the first week, right? You're just trying to make a positive relationship and a positive association with yourself and the guitar, right? So you're going to say, cool, I'm literally just going to pick up the guitar for 2 minutes and just start fucking around and just start strumming chords, right? Playing what I already know how to play. Maybe I'll look up a new chord. Maybe I'll look up one new chord a day and try to like practice it, right? And I'll try to do that. You know what? I'll look up one new chord on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I'll play the chord that I learned on Monday, and then I'll look up a new one, right? And then I'll do that on Wednesday. I'll play the one that I learned on Monday. Then I'll try to remember the one I learned on Tuesday. Then I'll try to learn a new one on Wednesday, right? Thursday, I'll play the one that I learned on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'll look up a new one. Like, that should probably take you around 2 minutes. Maybe I'm underestimating that, but let's say that that's what it would do, right? Basically, when you start a habit, I'm pretty sure he said the 2-minute rule is twofold. It's literally do the habit for 2 minutes, right? Because like then your brain's going to say, well, man, we were just starting to have fun with that. And that's what you want, right? You want to stop when your brain goes, oh man, I was actually just starting to enjoy that, but now we have to stop doing that. That's what you want, right? Because that's going to build this positive association and make you keep coming back, right? And then the other thing is that it makes it easier and you don't procrastinate doing it when it's just 2 minutes, right? And then the third part of it is that sneakers, the sneakers trigger going to the gym, right? I know that if I put my sneakers on, that is a less than 2 minute activity that's probably going to get me to go to the gym, right? So yeah, standardize before you optimize. Basically, like make sure if you're trying to do something every day, first, just do the thing every day. It doesn't matter for the duration that you do the thing every day. I want to practice guitar for an hour a day. That's 2 parts, right? That is two different things. That is, I want to practice every day, and then I want to practice guitar for an hour, right? I want to work every day. I want to work every day for 8 hours. Well, first, I just need to knock out, I want to work every day instead of sitting in bed watching The Walking Dead or, going to the gym and then fucking around and whatever. And or I don't know, I had interviews last week, and that really fucked with my work schedule as well. Anyway, whatever. I guess that's technically, not the most procrastination thing, but I didn't feel good about it. Also, I realized that bartending, I'm staying up late and then going to bed really late, and then that screws with my whole routine. And what I realized is that these routines that I built, they were all contingent on this morning preparation routine that I had built. My morning routine, which, I made breakfast and I made toast and coffee and whatever. I already talked about this a little bit. And it's if I go to bed late, then my whole system gets nuclear bombed because I went to bed late. And so it doesn't make sense for me to wake up around noon and make breakfast, right? That's crazy. So how can I build a system that's more resilient, and more anti-fragile than one where I went to bed late, so I woke up late, and therefore my whole day is ruined, right? How do I do that? And so that's what I'm recently tried to update stuff to do. Anyway, whatever. I have ADHD. That was a tangent, but that's okay. That's kind of the whole show. Chapter 14, how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Use commitment devices. For example, automating your savings to lock in future behaviors. This is huge. This one is absolutely huge, right? Make it automatic, make it mindless, make it it should require no effort, right? You can set up mechanisms in your life that will improve your life over time that require no consistent effort. You can literally let's say you take an hour once a week, or just 1 hour, one day of your life to set up things. Especially with these programs, software is really cool because it extends your power as a person into the future, right? That's why I really like marketing automation software. That's why I really like financial automation software. Basically, you can have one day, really good marketers, really good lawyers. I used to do lawyer marketing and legal marketing, right? Really good lawyers will set up email marketing systems that have 52 automated emails in them. And those 52 automated emails will go out once a week over the course of a year. And the theory behind that is that if your email list has 52 emails on it, 52 individual messages that get sent out once a week, the recipients are probably not going to remember the subject line that you used from the previous year, right? So you can probably get away with just having 52. So it makes it so that there's this finite thing that you can do for your law firm where you create 52 emails that is going to improve the performance of your law firm and make your repeat business way, way higher because people are engaging with your email list, right? Because some people think of an email list as, oh shit, I need to talk to these people once a week. And it's that's a pain in the ass. And instead you can just make 52 things and then set it up perpetually. And then the idea is you can also change and update it, whatever but make it evergreen. Anyway, whatever, sorry. Use commitment devices. Automating savings is a commitment device, right? He also talks about, I think in this chapter, he talks about habit contracts, right? He says there's this guy that wants to lose weight. And so he makes a contract between himself, his wife, and his personal trainer. And it says, I am going to eat well, and I'm going to go to the gym X number of days this month, let's say 20 days this month. And then I'm going to sign this quarter. I'm going to do this many times this quarter or whatever. It was some reasonable goal. And then he had his wife sign it, and he had his personal trainer sign it, and then he had himself sign it. Then he set up an automation. Or no, I'm sorry, that's a different person. But yeah, if he doesn't hit the goal, then he owes his trainer $200, right? And he has these other two people who are kind of looking over his shoulder, making sure he accomplishes this thing, making sure he's honest, right? That is the habit contract, right? Automation simplifies habit adherence. If you're a lawyer and you have that email list, they automatically go out and you're automatically doing your due diligence to connect with customers. If you automatically set up savings contributions, if you save, 20% of your income and you automate that 20% of every single check that goes into your bank account, 20% comes out of your saving or checking and goes into your savings, you are going to be ahead of the game. If you're saving 20% of your income, you're going to be ahead of the game, right? And you can automate that and make it mindless. Increase friction for bad habits to make them less likely. Again, design the maze so that the path of least resistance is good habits. Cool. The other thing that I really liked from this chapter is he talks about a guy who wrote a Python script that basically he has like a wake up alarm, right? He's supposed to be up every day by like 6 a.m., right? And so if he doesn't wake up by 6 a.m., he's got this like dead man switch that a dead man switch is something where it's like, hey, if I don't, it's like the thing from like the Joker, right? And the Batman's like the Joker's holding on to like the bomb detonator, and the Joker says, well, if I let go of the detonator, Batman, or if I don't call, this is what it actually is. It's a movie where the bad guy goes, if I don't call my guy every 20 minutes, he's going to blow up the building, right? And so the guy has to call the guy every 20 minutes. And if he doesn't do that, then the guy blows up the building, right? You can basically do that to yourself. And this guy wrote a Python script. And if he doesn't wake up every day and hit the magic button, at 6 a.m., hits the magic button stops a tweet from going out. And that tweet says, hey, this dude is a lazy piece of shit, and reply to this tweet for $5, right? Limit 5 people, right? So basically, if the guy doesn't hit the magic button, then he faces humiliation from a crowd of people who know he's a lazy piece of shit, and he loses $25, and he has to pay it directly to 5 people who each individually know that he's a piece of shit. Not that he's a piece of shit, but that he did not hit his goal for that day. We're hyperbolizing here, baby, for dramatic effect. Cool. So that is that. The ultimate way to lock in future behavior is to automate your habits. Go ahead and use automation to your benefit. Chapter 15, the cardinal rule of behavior change. Key points: immediate rewards reinforce behaviors. Punishments deter them. To get habits to stick, make them immediately satisfying. The fourth law ensures habits are repeated long term. Make it satisfying, right? This is all about make it satisfying. The fourth law of behavior change, those 4 laws of make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. This chapter is about making it satisfying. Cool. Immediate rewards reinforce behaviors. Punishments deter them, right? This whole book is about conditioning, right? It's about how to train a dog or how to train a rat or how to train an animal, right, to perform a certain behavior. And the real realization is, oh, I am nothing but an animal, right? I need to immediately reward myself when I do something good, and then I need to immediately unreward, detract, punish myself if I do something bad, right? And not like in a weird way where like you're like some weird sadist who's like, ooh, daddy's been bad, right? But more like, hey, like punish yourself by like, having to do some sort of bad thing, some sort of difficult thing if you do something that's not against your things, right? Also, like there's a lot of research, I don't know if this is actually in the book, but there's a lot of research that says like positive reinforcement works way better than negative reinforcement. So I don't know. I would try to focus on the positive instead of focusing on the negative, right? I personally think that works a lot better for myself, rewarding myself when I do something positive versus punishing myself when I do something negative. I always just like stick to the positive stuff because I respond to that better and it makes me do stuff better. That said, there's also other things. I think accountability partners also really help me. And so like, the social aspect is a negative punishment, right? Like so my friend Cami is a bartender in the Syracuse area, and I made her my accountability coach and accountability partner and I told her, I'm like, look, hey, I need a bartending job in the Syracuse area. And you're in charge of this. You're my accountability coach. And so as soon as you do that, you immediately, at least for me, I'm like, I don't want to let this person down. I want to show this person that I can do what I said that I was going to do, right? Same thing with my cousin Brandon, who is the lead producer and editor of this show. He's my accountability partner for this show. Brandon, thank you for everything that you do. You're doing God's work. And you're fucking awesome, and thank you for everything. But, there's a part of me that's like, okay, I can't let down Brandon, which is really good, right? And Brandon, I don't want you to be like, well, I don't really give a fuck, because that's not true. I want you to ride my ass a little bit and be like, hey man, where's the show? What are we doing? What's going on? We gotta post. What are we doing? Right. And that's what I want. And that can be like, that's how I personally use negative reinforcement. Cool. To get habits to stick, make them immediately satisfying. The fourth law ensures habits are repeatable long-term. Satisfying to me, I have this calendar, and every day that I do my work routine, I put an X on the calendar. Now, what I realized last night is that that's an all or nothing mentality, right? If my system says, oh, I followed the work routine perfectly, or I didn't follow the work routine perfectly, right? That's a binary 0 and 1 system. What I realized yesterday is I should move past a binary 0 and 1 system, and instead I should move to a number system where each day I try to accomplish 4 major tasks, right? And I could just write the number of major tasks that I accomplished that day instead of doing an all or nothing system, right? And that makes my whole productivity system way more resilient, because even if I only accomplish one thing, then that's still one thing that I can check off. That brings us into a good and solid transition to chapter 16, which is how to stick with good habits every day. I don't know if we hit the quote in the last chapter. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided, right? You're a dog. You're Pavlov's dog. Make do the bell and get the salivation going for the food, right? Pavlov, what a cool Russian dude. How to stick with good habits every day. Key points: track habits visually. Example, a calendar to reinforce progress. Focus on consistency, not perfection. Never miss twice. Habit trackers provide immediate evidence of growth. Cool. Okay, so track habits visually. Use a calendar to reinforce progress, right? Every day I go to the gym, I put an X on my calendar. That's not an example. I actually do that, right? I stuck, after reading this book again, I stuck a calendar on my wall, and then I put 3 markers next to it, right? The first marker is my gym routine. It's blue. I'm sorry, no. The first marker is my work routine. It's blue. At first, I was doing a binary system where either I did my full work routine or I didn't, and I changed over and I did this number system, and I think that makes it more resilient. And so I write that number in blue. How many major work tasks did I get accomplished that day, right? And it's usually a number between 1 to 4, right? Because I try to accomplish 4 major things a day. So cool. So there's that. Then I have one marker that's red for my gym progress. And that one I'm going to leave as a binary system. Did I go to the gym? X. Or did I not go to the gym? Nothing, right? Then I temporarily had a third one, which was number of jobs that I had applied for that day, right? I was trying to get part-time work as a bartender. So I was trying to apply to, tons and tons of jobs. And so every day I would, that would be my satisfaction habit tracking tool to say, today, and I would write the number of jobs that I applied to, right? And over time, it's really cool. You can go back to my calendar and you can say, oh, wow, Noah applied to 10 jobs that day. Noah applied to 8 jobs that day. Noah applied to 12 jobs that day, right? And you can go back and then you can add them all up. And it's like, oh, cool. I applied to like 100 jobs, right? And I got like 5 interviews, which is great. But, and that's really what it takes when you're trying to get hired is, a conversion rate like that of 5% is really not that bad when you're using automatic applies like on Indeed and stuff. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. All that matters is the result is getting a job. And I got a job, so that's cool. Cool. One of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress. Your brain really likes it. It's fun to make progress, man, especially when you make consistent progress one day after another over a month. And then you can look at that progress and you can say, wow, holy shit, this is all the progress I made. It feels really cool, especially to somebody like me who has ADHD, who like struggles to make progress, right? Those calendars are sick. Cool. Chapter 17, how accountability partners change everything. This, again, we've talked about this a little bit. I think this is really, really important. Leverage social accountability to reinforce habits. Habit contracts introduce public consequences for failure. External motivation increases adherence. Again, my friend Cammie was my accountability partner for getting a bartending position in Syracuse. My cousin Brandon was my accountability partner for this show. I don't want to let him down. I want to make sure that I record enough content so that we can post one of these every Monday. Leverage social accountability to reinforce habits. Habit contracts introduce public consequences for failure, right? This is, again, that thing where it's like, I'm going to get my personal trainer and my wife and me to all write a contract together and sign it. And if I don't lose weight, or if I don't go to the gym this much, or if I don't eat properly, I have to give my personal trainer $200 at the end of this fiscal quarter. Also, here's something that's not in the book, but make sure the consequences actually hurt, right? In the book, he describes this like guy who can afford a personal trainer and who has this like high-powered corporate job. And then he says the consequence is $200. I think that is lame as hell. I think the consequence should be like $1,000, right? Because $1,000 is going to be like a punch to the gut, right? That's going to suck. That sucks for anybody, right? So I think that would actually be a bigger motivator. That said, it's not about the number. It's not about like the size of the negative consequence. It's about you could probably run a study where it's like even $100 was still very motivating, right? So just making it, but I guess it's like make it large enough to hurt, right? When I went to the gym, when I was going to my Atlanta gym where I got ripped and everybody looked scary, that gym costs a lot of money, and was that foolish? You could potentially say it was, but I can guarantee you that because I was paying so much money for that, it made me much, much, much less likely to skip a workout, because I'm like, cool, you could do the math and be like, okay, this workout is probably costing me like at least $10. So I need to go to this fucking workout, right? I can't skip this workout. It's like burning $10. That's crazy. I'm not going to burn $10. I like money. I'm not going to burn it. So you need to go to it. Cool. How accountability partners change everything. They make it so that like the path of least resistance, like you're a social creature that wants validation from your social network, right? And so if you have a friend or somebody that you care about or somebody that you respect, and that person is in charge of like making sure that you are accountable, and you have to check in with them, suddenly you don't want to let that person down, right? You're taking advantage of these like tribalism mechanisms in your brain. Is that technically what tribalism is? Probably not. But you're taking advantage of these like social mechanisms in your brain that try to, get you to appease the crowd, right? This is a lot of this book is about realizing that you have a caveman brain. And part of the mechanism of the caveman brain is I don't want to let down the tribe, right? So, knowing that someone else is watching can be a powerful motivator. Cool. The truth, chapter 18, the truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't. I also really like this chapter. I like this chapter a lot. Key points. Align your habits with your natural strengths and inclinations. Experiment broadly to find areas in which you excel, and focus effort where genetic predispositions align with hard work. This one is about understanding yourself. There's that quote, I don't remember. It's like a mantra. It's like, know thyself, right? Like fucking figure out, like, okay, here's a realization that I had the other day. The idea that this social creature, that if I take a personality test, my extroversion, in this chapter, he says, take the Big 5 personality test and see where you fall, right? So that you can get a better understanding of yourself, and how you should, do stuff. Whenever I take a Big 5 personality test or any test like that, my extroversion, I score in the 99th percentile for extroversion, right? I am more extroverted than 99% of the population. I'm pretty sure is what that means. That's crazy. That's insane, right? And so to expect that person who is more extroverted than 99% of people to sit and do 8 hours of isolated work every single day for a 5-day work week, that is a kind of crazy thing, right? So if I know that, then I need to kind of tweak my behavior, my habits to address that in a meaningful way, right? One thing that I've noticed that helps me be more productive is setting up work appointments, right? Hey man, can we meet on this day to either film this thing or to edit this thing? I need somebody to, to edit with me. Can you come and edit this part of this thing with me on this day, right? That will make sure that that makes it a social thing for me. Also, the act of creating something, either filming something or editing something, that I think it's a little bit more fun with an audience, right? And even an audience of one makes it more fun. Usually the things that I make are more funny and more insightful and more clear if I have kind of somebody else there as a sounding board to bounce stuff off of, right? It also is that accountability thing, right? I don't want to let that person down. I don't want to let that person see me slouching. I want them to, if they're going to be there, I want to be working hard so that I can whatever, right? Cool. Align habits with natural strengths and inclinations. Experiment broadly to find areas where you excel. Focus effort where genetic predispositions align with hard work. In this chapter, he uses the example of Michael Phelps and then this other runner guy. And he says that Michael Phelps and this other runner guy they both have the same inseam, right? Meaning they both have the same size legs, right? But the problem is that if you throw the runner in the pool and you throw Michael Phelps on the track, right? They are the rest of their body makeup. Michael Phelps is an alien. Michael Phelps is an alien that was born on another planet, an aquatic planet, and he was shot here in a rocket. And the man was manufactured in a lab to be freakishly good at swimming, right? That's kind of the point of the chapter, right? You can also look up. I listened to a podcast about Michael Phelps and his weird, unique alien body one time, and he has very long back muscles that make pulling strokes through the water much more efficient for him. He has very large hands and very large feet that can cup a lot of water, and so they're literally like paddles on a boat. And so this guy has won more swimming gold medals than literally any other Olympian ever in the history of the world, not just in swimming, but in any other sport, right? He's won more gold medals than anybody alive, right? And that's because he has this alien body that is freakishly good at swimming, right? And the point of the chapter is try to find what your alien body is freakishly good at, right? You're probably good at, he brings up the example of the guy who wrote Dilbert, right? The author of the Dilbert comic says, well, I'm reasonably funny, right? I'm not the funniest person in the world, but I'm reasonably funny. I'm probably in the top 25% people who are funny, right? I'm funnier than 75% of the population, right? Which, isn't that bold of a thing, right? It's that's just you're probably naturally, that's not that crazy and audacious of a thing, right? That's funnier. I am, out of me and my 4 friends, I usually find myself to be the funniest one if I'm around 4 other people, right? Or 3 other people. Jesus Christ, why is this so tough for me to? There's a lot of points in this book. He says, I'm in the top 25% of funniest people in the population, probably, right? I'm also in the top 25% of people who can draw, right? He's not in the top 1%. He's not the best comedian in the world. He's not the best artist in the world. He's just in the top 25%. He's okay. He's got this talent at it, right? And then he combines that. He combines his, top 25% comedy, top 25% drawing with his background and his lived experience, right? I've been in a lot of corporate environments for years and years and years. And so I have this broad depth of experience to draw on for subject matter to make my comic about, right? So I can draw a Dilbert comic. A Dilbert comic is me leveraging that 25%, top 25% humor comedians, top 25% drawing, and then my broad depth of experience with working in corporate environments. And if you throw all of that together and you throw it in a blender, then what you get is Dilbert, and you get somebody who is creating one of the probably the most read Sunday comics ever, right? And you get somebody who is hyper successful, right? He is not a 1% talent at anything, right? But he found that his unique mix of salsa, he threw that in a blender, and it allowed him to create his own game that he excelled at, right? He became his own Michael Phelps because he, his paddle arms were his big paddly feet and hands were his comedy background. His like fat, chunky back muscles were his depth of experience working at corporate America. And I don't know what's a third thing that Michael Phelps is. And his long legs were, his ability to draw, right? Like he basically manufactured his own game based on his strengths. Also, the author of this book talks about how he created his own major in college. His major was biomechanical engineering. And they didn't really offer that at his school, but they offered the ability to make your own major, right? He knew a fair amount about mechanical engineering. He knew a fair amount about like bio and stuff. And so he decided to make his own major, right? Basically the idea of like if I was to look at my life, right? Like what is my life? Well, I have a lot of experience doing improv comedy, right? That's something that I really enjoy doing. I have quite a bit of experience doing like actual like journalism stuff, like with a microphone, man on the street journalism stuff, telling stories, interviewing people on camera, right? I have a lot of marketing experience, right? And I have some sales and entrepreneurship experience as well. And then I have a lot of media production experience, right? So if you wrap all that together, then hopefully I can make something kind of cool and fun that I like. Cool. And that it's a game that I will naturally excel at. So I guess it's like, what would be a game that I naturally excel at? And I've racked my mind for this question for years, right? And the better you can understand this question, the better you can put yourself in situations where you're going to succeed, right? So honestly, probably one of the best things that I could do is have a show that's like a social show, right? That is about marketing and psychology, right? Marketing, psychology, and like interpersonal relationships. I think that would be like a really cool thing for me and might be something that I'm like working on. You never know. Genes do not eliminate the need for hard work. They clarify it, right? You are genetically predisposed to having a set of strengths and skills in one area. And if you can find what that is, and then you work hard in that area, you will have success. That is the point of this chapter. Cool. Chapter 19, the Goldilocks rule, how to stay motivated in life and work. Key points. Motivation peaks when challenges are just beyond your current abilities. Boredom is the greatest threat to success. Stick to routines even when they become dull. This chapter is about flow states, right? My favorite video game in the world is Tetris. It's a tight race between Pokemon and Tetris, but Tetris wins by a hair, okay? Tetris is the best. There's a documentary on YouTube about why Tetris is the best. Tetris is the best because it automatically, like the game is designed to put you in a flow state, okay? It's designed to maximize your... to maximize the challenge to meet your current level of skill, right? And inevitably, like the game will get so hard that you lose every single time. But as you play, it usually puts you in a flow state because it is so hard that it rises to meet the level of player that you are, right? It is the perfect level of challenge to keep you in a flow state. Because if something is too easy, then it's hard to get into that flow state, right? If something is too hard, then you're actively thinking about, okay, well, this is what I should probably do next, and this is what I should probably do next. The flow state happens when something is optimally hard. It's the Goldilocks rule, the Goldilocks zone of being hard, right? Motivation peaks when challenges are just beyond your current abilities. Boredom is the greatest threat to success. Stick to routines even when they become dull. He makes a point in this chapter to talk about, I forgot what I think it was baseball. I think he talks about a baseball coach who trains some of the best baseball players in the world. And the baseball coach, he goes, what makes the good players great, and what separates the great players from the good players? And the baseball coach basically tells him, the great players are players that continue to do something even though it might be boring, right? Yes, the routine of going to the gym and, working on arm muscle stuff because you're a baseball player, you got to throw a pitch, right? Like, yes, that is boring after a while, but the great players are the ones that don't stop, right? They are bored and they still do it, right? Boredom, like all of the great things, all of the great rewards that you want in your life are on the other side of boredom, right? And if you cannot be bored, then that is bad. And you should be able to be bored. And if you can be bored and you can still act anyway while you're bored, that is going to help you a lot. He also talks about novelty, right? He talks about a bunch of things that provide novelty, like manufactured foods. Fake foods provide novelty and new textures and new flavors and whatever, right? He talks about pornography. He says that provides novelty, right? And so by providing you novelty, these things keep you using them, right? Cool. So if you can create your own novelty, right? If you can change up your routine at the gym to do something that works for you, if you can basically like introduce novelty back into this thing that you might be bored with, then you will stick with it for a long time. Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way, right? Try to find things that are just out your grasp should just exceed your reach, I think is what it is. Your grasp should just be outside your reach. Boredom is the greatest threat to success. Professionals ride through boredom, and amateurs let life get in the way. There's another book that I really love called The War of Art, and it's just a cranky old man, who is like grouchy about how, what he believes a good artist is and what he believes a bad artist is. I love the book so much, and I might do a summary of that book at some point if this does okay, if people don't revolt and say, wow, this was the most boring thing in the world. Chapter 20, the downside of creating good habits. Key points: over-reliance on habits can lead to stagnation and blind spots. Reflection and deliberate practice prevent complacency. Keep your identity flexible to accommodate growth. Honestly, I'm having trouble remembering and fully internalizing this chapter, because when you get to the end of the book, it's the last chapter. It can't be that important. No, it's probably very important. Over-reliance on habits can lead to stagnation and blind spots. One thing from my personal life, again, I realized that my routine was a little fragile. And I was becoming very reliant on this morning routine. And so if I skipped the morning routine, then the rest of my day was screwed, right? And so that's bad. So how can you make your routine more anti-fragile? Well, you can, make it so that you don't have to have breakfast, right? You can just start working, right? You can also make it not all or nothing, right? Instead of the X versus the no X, you can do a number of tasks that you accomplish that day and put that on the calendar instead, right? If you over rely on these habits, you become fragile, right? If you over rely on a morning routine, you become fragile and you become over reliant and you are prone to failure. So try not to become over reliant on them. Reflection and deliberate practice prevent complacency. If you do have a journal that you write in, you can. When I was doing this journal every day, there was a lot of benefits, right? I could recognize, hey, I think I slept like shit last night, and I think I slept like shit last night because of X, Y, and Z, right? That stuff compounded over time is really important. And it's like, oh, cool. Okay, I noticed that, I was at this social function until this time last night. So therefore, like, I slept like shit, and I didn't, I had a bad day the next day as a result, right? That's really bad. And it's really cool to identify that, because next time I'm at the social function, I'll know, okay, hey, I need to go to bed at this time, so I have to leave the social function at this time, right? That stuff's really important. And if you have a journal, you can reflect, and then you can change your behavior, and you can identify it in the future and change it going forward. Keep your identity flexible to accommodate growth, right? You don't want to lock in and be like, this is the person I am forever. Cool. Here's the quote from the chapter: habits plus deliberate, like a frog, deliberate. Habits plus deliberate practice equal mastery. Habits plus deliberate practice equal mastery. Cool. That is the last chapter of the book. Here is the conclusion of the book. The core idea is that success isn't a finish line, but an endless process of refinement and continuous improvement. Small habits compound into massive results over time. Never stop iterating. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of Brain Juice. If you've listened to both of these episodes where I summarize the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for supporting this show if you support this show. Again, I think that this book is hugely important. I made this so that I spend more time thinking about these ideas. If I want to go back and listen to myself process these ideas so that I can better introduce them into my life again, I can go back and I can listen to the summary that I made of this book, right? That's hugely powerful to me. Also, when you do something like this, I feel like it speaks to your subconscious, right? Just saying these things out loud and making these connections in my mind, I think it already warped and changed how I view some of my daily routines and stuff. So there's value in that. I don't know. It's a great book. You should check it out. You should support the author and go buy the book on Amazon or whatever. I guess I could maybe do an affiliate link in the description. That'd be kind of cool if I did that, right? But whatever. Just go search Atomic Habits by James Clear. Also, the whole book is available in audiobook form on YouTube in a YouTube video. So you can go and get it there. It's probably also in your library. There's also probably electronic libraries on the internet where you could probably get the full ebook or an audiobook of this book as well. So I would highly recommend potentially looking at all of those options and reading this book if you think it would be valuable for you. It's valuable for me because I have attention deficit disorder. I have big audacious goals and I struggle. My rat likes to run around the maze and I need this book in my life. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to Brain Juice with Noah Chrysler. Let me know what you think about like the book summary episodes. Is this shit? Do you just want to do bits the whole time? We'll find out. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Thank you to Second Suitor for the use of our theme song, Get It, off their 2018 album, Safe Space. Make sure to go check them out on Spotify. Also, thanks to Brandon Chrysler for editing this show.
I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing the best I can, but not as good as I want to be. I just want to get it, because it will manifest. I'm not getting it.